Hello lovely people, how are you all doing today? I hope you're all in fine fettle. I've not had a lot of time in the garden in the last 2 weeks, so a couple of jobs I'm going to do today are a bit overdue, which you'll see in a minute. I'm going to do some tomato cares, which ideally I would have liked to have done about a week ago. We've been having the craziest weather, which is part of the reason I've not had the time down here that I would want. And as I was walking down here today, I was thinking about the weather and thinking, we Brits don't half bang on about the weather all the time and think about it and chat to each other about it and check our forecasts. And I was thinking, actually, I think it's because we just don't really get settled weather. So, for instance, today, it's really overcast. It's a bit windy still. I'm hoping that's not going to scupper filming too much. But yesterday, for example, absolutely beautiful blue skies, 26, 27 degrees centigrade. Today, grey, about 15 degrees. We've lost 10 degrees in a day. It's absurd. And we do have this kind of, literally one day we can feel like we're in the height of summer, and then the next we feel like we're back to the beginning of spring again. We can have no rain for 2 months, and then we have a day where we have a whole month's worth of rain in a day. And it does affect the gardening to a degree, partly in terms of, sometimes it's just too hot to get out, sometimes it's too wet to get out here. But more than that, just when you think it's safe to put the little tender plants out because it's warm, and then boom, overnight we have frost. Crazy. Or the little seedlings are coming up and we get an absolute lashing of rain which squishes them all. The big thing this last week has been the wind. It's been relentless. I have never ever had to tie climbing beans to their poles, ever. This week, as they've started to climb, the wind has battered them off the poles, so I've had to tie them. Yeah, it's been a bit bonkers. Anyway, one of the things I want to show you this morning, actually let's go down there now, is, and hopefully this wind isn't going to be too hideous, the quinoa. So I think I've learnt a valuable lesson, and I would like to pass it on to you guys so that hopefully you guys won't make the same mistake as me. It's not so much a mistake, it was just a timing issue, but it's definitely a lesson learned for next year if I do quinoa again next year. Okay, so I'm just bringing you down to the quinoa bed, and I'm just going to show you here. So, this little row of quinoa, it took about 6 days for them to germinate. I was amazed, they came up so quickly. And within about 2 weeks, they had 3 or 4 true leaves. Great, and then can you see what I mean about this slight, I'm going to see, bear with me a sec, a slight reddish tinge to the stem there. So, they were very obvious. So they got going, 2 weeks old, 3 or 4 leaves, and then the naughty little fat hen weeds started to appear, which I must say, this year seemed more prolific than ever. But because they were so tiddly and the quinoa had got going, I was able to tell the difference, so I weeded them out in this row. However, if you remember, I've got a row down in this trench. Now, the day I weeded the other row, I didn't have time to come to this row. The fat hen were really, really little in comparison to the quinoa, and I thought that's fine. Couple of days time I will have a little weeding session. Then we had a massive rain dumped on us, followed by really, really warm couple of days, and literally in the space of about 3 days the fat hen was as big as the quinoa, and I really, really couldn't tell the difference. So I've given this a weeding But I'm not entirely sure that I haven't kept fat hen and pulled out the quinoa. Time will tell. The fat hen, also known as goosefoot and known as lamb's quarters, will only get to anywhere between 1 foot and 2 foot before it starts to put on a seed head, flower and then seed obviously, whereas the quinoa should get to 5 or 6 foot. So if any of this lot start to flower at 1 foot or 2 foot, I'll know it's fat hen, and I will eat the leaves and not let it go to seed. Lesson learned, get on top of your weeding when you can. I mean, normally I don't worry too much because I know eventually I'll always get round to the weeding, but with this little beautiful row, that's my lesson learned. I may be cultivating a whole row of weeds here and not my grain crop. Okay, so that's a little update on the quinoa. It's actually beautiful down here today. Let me swing you around. It's quiet. Oh, look, everything's getting white. Actually, let me just show you this as well. Really, really, really rubbish germination from the carrots. Can you see down there? There's barely a carrot to see. I had no seed left, so I sort of went on the scrounge with friends and managed to get enough seed to resow. So fingers crossed I will have carrots this winter. Please, please, please. Yeah, it's quiet. There's moments of stillness today which are beautiful. And then every now and then there are still these gusts of wind. So look, with the let me just show you on the beans. See here? I've had to actually tie them. I mean, these guys were just literally being ripped off the poles by the wind. Anyway, enough of that. Things are doing what they need to do. Let's get on with some tomato cares. So the tomatoes are planted out 2.5 weeks ago, and the 2 jobs I need to do today will kind of be repeated over the course of the summer, and ideally I would have liked to have started this about a week ago. Here comes that wind again. Can you hear me, mother? Okay, job number 1 is to look at all the ties and stakes. So obviously they're growing, they're going to need bigger stakes, but the main thing is where they were growing at home, they had the little mini stakes in, and they were tied to them at home to give them a bit of support, and then also for transporting them here. It's so windy today. I hope you can hear me. Now what you've got to imagine is when those ties were put on the stems were only 3-4 millimetres wide. They will get, I hope, to anything up to sort of 30-40 millimetres wide. So imagine where that little tie is. If I don't remove it now, as the plant grows, it's actually going to cut into the stem, which we don't want. I don't want it to cut in there. I don't want it to restrict the growth. I also don't want it to cut into the skin of the stem, as it were, because that could let disease in. So I will go around the whole lot today, all 28, give them all a longer stake, clip off all those original little ties and put much bigger ties on in a sort of a figure of 8 loop. I'll try and show you that. The second job, and this is the main job over the whole summer now for cordon tomatoes, is nipping out the side shoots. Again, I'm going to show you that in a second. The reason we do that is all these little side shoots are just basically they're creating more branches. They're not shoots that are producing fruit. Those branches would produce fruit eventually, but I don't want the plant to put all that energy into producing branches. I want the plant to keep growing. I want them to form the flower trusses and for the energy to go into those flower trusses and making the fruit. So it's one of my little joyous weekly tasks is to come and play in the tomatoes and nip out their little side shoots. If you remember when I was transplanting them back indoors in March or April, I I was saying, I think one of the reasons I love tomatoes so much is because I spend so much time with them as a vegetable. You know, most of the other stuff will just get away and do its own thing. Oh, I've got a visitor. So yeah, I love playing with my tomatoes. So let's have a little close-up of what I'm going to be doing with the trusses. Okay, so let me first of all show you what I mean about the ties and the stem. Oh, can we see in there? So can you see how tight this tie is now as the plant's growing? So those will all come off, and then this little support can come out. And with the side trusses, basically follow your stem up. Then, where we've got this leaf here, in the axis, you can see this little shoot appearing. Literally just nip it off. Nip, gone. Carry on going. Oh, wind. Carry on going up the plant. There's another. More easy to see on this one. You see how it's behind the stick a bit. Nip it out. And there's another. Nip it out. Now sometimes, let me see if I can find one to show you. Sometimes they get really big. This one, for example, you can tell I'm really late on this job. So, stem, here's the leaf, and look, in the axis, look how big this side shoot has got. So you see, the plants aren't getting very tall at the moment, and that's partly because they're putting all the energy into these side shoots, so nip it out. Now that, you could actually, it's quite a little one, but this sort of size and bigger, you can actually put in a pot and root them, and oopsie, and have another little plantlet to play with. I won't, simply because I have no space left on the allotment for any other plants. So yeah, that's my job for the day. Yeah, this one's got loads, see? Another one. There's another. There's lots and lots and lots. Obviously this will all just now go in the compost. Won't be wasted completely. It's also, gosh, that one's huge. Sorry, not a very good shot. It's also getting to the time of year to start thinking about sprays and pest disease prevention. So in about another week to 2 weeks, I will start spraying them with my aspirin spray, which I will explain more when I start to do it. But in the meantime, if you want to get your bits and pieces ready to do that too, I will just let you know you need some soluble, dispersible aspirin and a little squirty spray bottle. And they will start to have a once a week squirt of aspirin. They will also, in terms of fertilising, they get the same fertiliser that all my plants get. There are many arguments to and fro about what's the best fertiliser, but the fertiliser I use is free. Just going to turn you guys back around here a sec. It is free. It is in abundance. It's my own wee. So I pee in a bucket in the shed in a sort of watering can with a nice spout, and I use about 1 part of my wee with 15 parts of water. I don't use it on seedlings. I just use it once plants are sort of getting going a bit. Obviously the main constituent of our wee is water and urea, but it does have nitrogen, potassium. It has all those things in it, but the nitrogen is the highest one, if you like. So it's particularly good on things like your beans, flint corn, those sorts of things. But as I say, I use it on everything because it's all I've got. and it seems to do perfectly well for me, so I see no reason to be going to the shops and buying all these millions of different fertilisers and expensive things when I can do it myself for now. So I'm going to get on with looking after my tomatoes. Oh, happy days. Today I'm also going to put the cocoa de pampoles in the ground, so I might give you a shot of that when I've finished. I have been meaning for the last week to start on the deck area, but I have had zero time. Today I've got a little bit of time, but my wrists are really hurting today, so I might not do it. But over the course of this week, it is going to be started. So watch this space! So exciting. I do believe it might rain in a minute. Anyway, guys, happy gardening. Go and play with your tomatoes. I will see you all really soon again, I hope. But in the meantime, I'll say cheerio. Enjoy your playing. Take care. I'll see you soon.